Happy Wednesday. So, if you were here with us last week, you will know that I was having some technical difficulties with the volume. I see that my mic is turned on right now, so I see I've got one of you guys watching. Will you go ahead and comment and let me know if you can actually hear me today? So that would be great. I'm going to go along with the idea that you guys can hear me, but again, please leave a comment below if you can, because last week I had such an issue with it. But hey there, I see that you can hear me. So just a heads up, if you are tuning in on the Facebook group, you can see over here that it doesn't actually show your name, and that's just because of privacy issues with Facebook groups. I'm actually streaming into our group, our page, and YouTube at the same time. So if you make a comment and I pull it up on the screen here and you don't see your name, don't worry, that's normal. Okay, so I'm so excited to be back with you guys again today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Taylor, and I'm the founder of the So What Box. And we just started doing weekly on Wednesdays called So What Wednesdays, and this is going to be like a live sewing show. So one of the questions that I'm going to ask later is, when you guys cut out fabric, do you use scissors, like for square fabrics and stuff? Do you have one of those cutting boards and like the wheelie cutting things, or do you use scissors most often? So if you're tuning in now, I see there's a few of you guys that are here already. Go ahead and leave a comment below. I'm super curious, and that will depend on how I explained some things later. Do you typically use like a cutting board, a cutting mat, or do you usually use scissors to cut things out? So go ahead and comment below. Awesome. I see that you use a cutting board. That's good to know. I actually have a giant one here too that I'll show you in a second. But today we are going to go over just a bunch of fun sewing. It feels like fall out. I don't know about for where you guys are, but here the leaves are starting to turn and there's fall stuff in the stores everywhere. So I've just really been wanting to sew some fall. And so actually what we're going to do today is just some sewing for a project that I really wanted to make with these fat quarters that came in your October shipment. So if you aren't a current subscriber to our monthly sewing club shipments, that's okay. You can use whatever fabric you have in your sewing room, but I'm just letting you know that I'm going to be using the fabrics that were sent in the monthly kit. And if you were looking for a really good project to use the fabrics that you got for, this is going to be perfect. So let's see, it looks like Rita also uses a cutting board. That's exciting. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and walk through how to make what I'm wanting to make. And lately on Pinterest and stuff, I've been seeing really cute front porch things for fall. So what I'm thinking, what I've been wanting to make out of these fabrics is an outdoor pillowcase with fringe around it. So it's going to be super cool. I'm going to show you two ways to make this. One way with a zipper, one way if you don't have a zipper and you don't want to deal with that stuff. And so we're going to totally get into that. I'm actually going to make mine reversible. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I'm going to make one side one color and one side the other. That way, depending on my mood, I can flip it. I see that I've got a few more people that joined watching. Hello, happy Wednesday. Go ahead and comment below. Let me know if you guys use a cutting mat or cutting board and those rotary cutters to cut things out, or if you like to use scissors. And in a second, we're going to get into our sewing project. But first, I need to give you guys a quick word from our sponsor, which is actually pretty fun and not lame. So watch this quick video. Sounds pretty cool, huh? If you are on our email list or if you were here last week, you will have heard me talk a little bit about that 12 days of Christmas thing. Basically, it's like 12 days of little sewing gifts, which is super fun, right? Unfortunately, they have just sold out, so those aren't available anymore. But if you did get one purchased, we are planning on getting those sent out between November 1 and 15. So you'll get them just in time for December and the holidays, and then you'll get to choose if you want to start opening those gifts before Christmas or after Christmas, or if you just want to open them all at once, because I can totally get behind that too. Okay, so let's get into sewing. If you have any questions as we go along, go ahead and comment below. I'm going to try and keep an eye on the comments as I'm sewing along back here and showing you guys how to do this awesome project. But if I miss you, like your comment or something, I'm going to have a spot at the end where we're just going to go over a bunch of questions and answers. So if you have any kinds of questions, go ahead and put those in the comments. But let's get to the sewing machine. So, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to be using these fabrics. Hold on, I'm going to put my screen down a little bit. There we go. Okay, so we're going to be using these fabrics. First thing to do is cut out the right size for your pillow. How many of you guys have actually sewn a pillow cover before? I'm super curious. Go ahead and let me know in the comments below. But we're going to go ahead and start from scratch. So all we need is some kind of a pillow insert. We're not going to like do stuffing and stuff it in that way. We're just going to start with like the pre-formed pillow inserts. If you have like a dollar store pillow throw or a pillow or something and the outside doesn't come off, you can still put what we're going to make over the top of the whole thing. So that's a perfect thing to grab. I'm going to use this size. It's not quite square, it's rectangular. But I'm going to show you really quick how to know what size to cut your fabric. So if your pillow, like if you know what size this pillow insert is, you can just go off of that. I have no idea what size this is. The tag is gone and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to measure it. And you can see here I'm just squishing it down on my table, which sounds really weird for measuring. But this is that giant cutting board thing that I mentioned earlier. It takes up my whole table. How cool is that? So basically, I'm just going to use the ruler on here to squish this down and measure how big this is. Now, my pillow is 16 inches by 12 inches. Now, if you think about it, you would think that you would add a seam allowance to that size. So a typical seam allowance for this kind of work would be 1/2 inch. And, you know, that's going to be the amount that's left on the edge of your stitching once you're done. But when you make a pillowcase, you want this pillow to look really full and not wrinkly on the case when you're done. So a good rule of thumb is to not add any seam allowance. So I'm going to cut from my fabrics exactly 16 inches by 12 inches. So I went ahead and did that already. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to show you 2 different ways to make a pillowcase like this. The first one is going to be with a zipper. So we're going to make it so that it unzips. You can take it off and wash it, and then you can zip it back on and stuff. If you do plan on washing this, you're going to want to pre-wash these before you make this or cut anything out. So take your fat quarters, pre-wash them, and then measure and cut out. Because what's going to happen if you don't, these are 100% cotton. So if you're using the fabrics that you got in your kit that came out in October, they're 100% cotton, so they will shrink, and then you'll go to put it back on your pillow and it won't quite fit. And so if you are planning on washing it instead of spot cleaning or whatever, you're going to want to wash the fabrics before you cut that out. Okay, so if you want to use a zipper, you're going to cut out 2 pieces that are the same size as your pillow. But if you want to make an option without a zipper, you're going to actually need 3 pieces. And so you're going to need 1 piece that's the size of your pillow. And then you're going to need 2 pieces that are almost the size of your pillow. And this is how you figure out what size to make. You're going to measure the length of your pillow. So for my case, it was 16 inches. And so then you're going to divide that in half. So half of 16 inches is 8, right? Then you're going to add 2 inches for an overlap. So what's going to happen is then your overlap will be about 2 inches, a little bit more, so that it's going to work like an envelope, so that you don't see the actual pillowcase through the back. So what you'll do is you take half, you add 2 inches, and then we're going to add 2 more inches, because that's going to be how we kind of hem and finish the edge. So basically you take the half the length, add 4 inches, and cut 2 of those. Now I'm going to walk you through how to make this option first, just because it's a lot quicker than the one with the zipper. And so we're going to take these 3 pieces, and we'll need to grab our iron. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the fabrics that you were sent in your kit are 100% cotton. They are actually a little thicker than quilter's cotton, if you noticed. They are home decor fabrics, so it's perfect for this kind of application. If you're not using these fabrics, go ahead and check the fiber content of the fabrics that you are going to use before you set your iron. Since these are cotton, I'm going to use the cotton setting, which is pretty much as hot as this iron goes. That way I can iron a lot faster and things will stay where they're going to be. Now, we're going to work with these half pieces first. Now, before we do anything, we're going to make sure that there's no creases or wrinkles anywhere, because that's just going to make our life a nightmare. So I'm going to go ahead and iron these out. As you can maybe see on the video, this is kind of folded over, and I don't want to deal with it, so I'm just going to iron it all out. Important, especially like on mine, see how it's almost looks like it's a square? So I need to make sure that I'm hemming the correct end. So remember I said that mine was 16 by 12 inches. So I'm just going to make sure that I have the 12-inch side that I'm working with. And I'm going to put that face down on my ironing board. I'm then going to roll over about 1 inch here on this end and iron that. See how it just stays? Then we're going to iron over 1 more. And you can see there we made a really, really easy hem where the raw edge is now encased. So when you put the pillow in and out, nothing's going to fray off. So I'm going to do that with both of these, making sure that I'm actually doing the correct end here. And then what you would do is you would go ahead and sew down this edge here, the closest wrinkle or fold to the inside. And I'll just do that really quick for you guys because I kind of want to show you how this comes together. Well, hold on a second because I forgot to get my power cord. Sorry about that, guys. Give me a second. Okay, now we're good to go. Okay, so I'm just going to buzz this together really quick. If you really want to, this is also a good place to use like a decorative stitch. I know that some of my older machines have stitches that look like fall leaves, which would be actually kind of cool to do on a fall project like this. Or you can just straight stitch. All right, now that that's done, I can show you how this kind of goes together here. For the next step, you are going to want to make sure that you're on a straight stitch. So I just changed my sewing machine right now so I don't forget because I am blind. Okay, we're going to take our front piece, the big piece, and I'm going to iron this out too because there's lots of wrinkles on this one, and I just don't want to deal with it. All right, now for this, we're going to put right sides together. So if you don't know what the right side of the fabric is, that's usually the side that's pretty or the side that you want to show when you're done. So we're going to have the right side of the large piece facing up, and then we're going to put the right sides of these down. And as you can see here, I'm putting this finished edge that we just ironed and stuff towards the center. And then I'm just going to overlap this one over it. Make sure that you're lining these edges up all the way around. And that's how we're going to get our pillow size. So once you've got all three of those pieces all lined together, you're just going to take some pins, and hold this together. The best place to pin actually is on this top, the top like folded hem area here. That way, as you sew over it, it's not really going to get caught and moved around by the presser foot. So if you want to pin as many times as you want. I'm going to just pin on those overlaps in every corner. That way I don't have a bunch to pull out as I go along, because I know that my sewing machine is going to hold everything pretty well. Now, as I said earlier, you're going to want to be on a straight stitch right now, and you're going to go all the way around the edge here. And we're going to use about a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So on my machine, on a straight stitch, that's going to mean that I'm lining up the right side of my presser foot with this raw edge as I sew. When you start, you're going to want to reverse stitch a few times and then reverse stitch as you keep going. Well, I mean, reverse stitch when you start and when you end, and that's going to be like tying the knot so nothing unravels as you go. So I'm going to zoom around this really quick. I'll show you how to really easily pivot a corner, because sometimes it's just something that people don't know how to do, and it's so much easier than sewing 4 separate straight lines of stitching. Okay, so here you can see that I'm starting to get close to the edge down here where I would normally stop sewing. What I'm going to do is go as close to the edge closest to me as I am away from the edge on the right. So in this case, it's going to be about 1/2 inch. Once I get there, I'm going to use the knob on the right side of my sewing machine to make sure the needle goes all the way down and stays down into the fabric. Then I'm going to use this to pick up my presser foot, and then I can just pivot all the way around like that, put down, and keep going. Now, if you try to do this, but you forget to put your needle all the way down, what's going to happen is when you pick up your presser foot, you can't pivot because this will just move all over. So make sure that you have your needle all the way down before you try to do this. Then we're just going to finish sewing all the way around, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. I'm super curious. Go ahead and leave me a comment below while I'm finishing this up. Have you made a pillowcase like this before or not? Go ahead and leave me a comment. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. Okay, so now that we are done with that, it kind of looks weird, right? Well, it's still kind of inside out, which we're going to fix in a second. But first, we're going to trim off these corners up here. So basically, if you have all this corner and you try to turn it inside out, there's going to be like a big bunch there of this seam allowance that can't really let the corner poke all the way out. So we're just going to kind of cut off the corner, just lop it off, straight off. I don't know if you can see that. Right on this side, like on the outside of the seam. So you don't want to cut through any stitching, otherwise your stitching will unravel. But we're just going to kind of trim off some of this excess here so that it doesn't bunch up when we turn this right side out. Then all you need to do is open this up by this hem here and poke your corners out as you turn this right side out. So it's going to kind of look weird for a second, but basically you're just going to turn this right side out, and then you're going to see that you have a pretty cool pillowcase. All right, so you can iron the sides if you want this to lay a little bit more flat, but here's our front, and then the back is like this. Look, you can't even tell that there's really any overlap there, but the way that you're going to put a pillow in, let's see, this way, is you're just going to open this and shove the pillow in that side, and then kind of like open this, and you just kind of put it on. And I'm sure that you've seen a pillowcase like this in the store. They're actually pretty popular because they're easy. You don't have to deal with zippers going bad, and it's easy for manufacturers to make. But I like them because I don't have to sew in a zipper, and that was really quick. So I'm going to put that aside, and then we're going to look at how we'll do this if we put in a zipper. Also, for my zipper one, I'm going to use some fringe. Check this stuff out. It's like fake leather. Like, it reminds me of Halloween, and like if I was a cowboy for Halloween, I'd have it all over my jacket, right? But I think it goes really good with this fabric, and I'm super excited for it. So we're going to go ahead and make this one with a zipper and with some fringe. So let's get started. Now this one you might think is going to be harder, but it's going to be about the same actually, because really we only have 2 pieces to work with instead of 3, and we don't really have to hem anything. So first I'm going to iron these out so that I don't have wrinkles. It's just an easy thing to do. And if you are thinking that you will be washing this, I would make sure that whatever fringe you get will stand up to the washer. So if you are wanting to put fringe on this, just make sure that you know the fiber content of the fringe and if it will hold up. So for instance, I'm not going to be washing mine because I feel like this fake leather stuff will just disintegrate in the washing machine. So a good trick to spot clean stuff is spray and wash and cheesecloth. So if you get something on one of these and you don't want to wash it, you can just squirt it with some spray and wash and then wipe it with like cheesecloth is what I usually use, but you can use a napkin too, and that should take it right out. Okay, so first step is we're going to put the zipper on one side. And so we're going to work with our zipper. If you look here, you can see that my zipper is like 4 inches too long. See, here's the end over here. But if you have a longer zipper, that's okay. We can always shorten it. But if you have a shorter zipper, we can never make it long enough. So I'll show you how we're going to do this with a longer zipper like this. This metal end down here, you know, the metal stop at the bottom of the zipper, we're going to line that up a little bit off the edge of our fabric. And we're just going to line up with the actual zipper side down. So right sides of fabric together. So the right side of this fabric is the pretty side. So that's going to be up. And the right side of the zipper is going to be the side with the teeth and the actual zipper pull. So that's going to be down. We're going to line up these edges on the bottom here. And I'm going to leave that zipper stop towards the end so it sticks off a little. And I'm going to actually use some pins because this can move around a lot on us. And if you have a rectangular pillow like this, you can honestly put the zipper on either the long side or the short side. But I'm going to put it on the long side so it'll just be easier for me to get the pillow in and out. I think it will be easier. We'll see. Maybe it's not. Okay, so if any of you guys have sewn a zipper before, you might think that you need to use a zipper foot. If you have a zipper foot and like using it, you can. But what I like to do is put my needle in as far of the position to the left as it will go. And then I just kind of sew along like that with the left side of the presser foot along the edge of the teeth of the zipper, and it holds together just fine. Make sure that you reverse stitch when you start and end on this because we don't want use of the zipper to make everything start to unravel. Okay, so now we have this sewn on here, but we want it to kind of lay flat. So I'm going to iron this out with the seam allowance pushed away from the zipper so that when you zip it open and close, it doesn't get stuck on the fabric, because I'm sure that we've all had a coat like that where the zipper always gets stuck. Now, just a word of wisdom, most zippers are polyester, which will melt in high heat. So if you still have your iron on the cotton setting, just go really fast. And it should not melt it, or you can turn it down. But I just like to get the really quick, nice, crisp lines there. Okay, so next we're going to set this right side up. And let's see, you guys can still see my zipper here. I'm going to take this piece and pin it on here. But I also want fringe to go on the edge with my zipper. So we're gonna pin some of this fringe in first. Fringe is weird. I'm curious if any of you guys have ever worked with fringe before, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna hang a little bit off the edge down here. So I'm going about 1 inch longer than this edge here, and I'm gonna keep it even with the raw edge of this zipper that has not been sewn into anything yet. So you do want to make sure that you put this on the right side of the zipper, so the side with the zipper pull and stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and pin this in place along this zipper. Now, once we do this, we will work with this other top piece and kind of sandwich them together just like you would think that you would do. If you don't want to use any fringe or any trim or anything like that, obviously you can skip this step. And then the rest of the pillow would just be a bit easier to make. But that doesn't sound like too much fun to me. I'm a big fan of this fringe stuff. Okay, so I've got that pinned in place. I'm now going to take this and kind of like sandwich it together. Remember, right side down. And then I'm going to line up the bottom of this. So this edge with the bottom of this zipper that we lined everything else up on as well. The thing that you want to make sure of is that you have these edges lined up as well. Because if you pin it on the bottom but they're crooked, when you go to put it together, the pillow won't match up. So we're going to make sure we're lined up here, and then we're going to pin this together on the zipper. Once I get this pinned together on the zipper, I'm going to go ahead and just sew along those zipper teeth like I did on the other side. You don't have to worry about having your zipper open or anything at this point because we're not going to be sewing across the zipper teeth, so it'll still zip and unzip for us, but then we will on the next step. So let me get this sewn together. Just to let you guys know, point it out, I haven't cut any of this fringe. It's still hanging out at the end, and I'm going to actually stop sewing when I get to this edge here. So just a straight line, don't sew any further on this fringe. Alrighty, especially if you're working with fringe, make sure to get all of these tails of thread off. Otherwise, everything's just going to get tangled and you're going to not enjoy this project. So I'm making sure that I'm pulling out all my pins because I want to open this and see what it looks like actually. So I really like how that fringe worked. If we open this like so, see, you can kind of see it sticks off. That's so cool. Let me hold it up for you guys. That's pretty cool. Okay, so now we are going to need to iron this side that we just sewed, right? But where I've got this fringe here, this fringe will melt a lot easier than the zipper, like I mentioned earlier. So I want to make sure that I'm ironing this with the side with the fringe down so that I don't accidentally hit that. So make sure that your fringe is face down on your ironing board. And I'm just going to make sure that I pretty much stay away from the fringe on this side and this side because I don't want to melt it. Not that I couldn't fix it on my project, but melted stuff is really hard to clean off of your iron. And I do know that from experience, so try to stay away from that. Okay, so now we've got this nice thing that is put in. Done with this is it's going to hide the zipper so that nobody can really see that zipper if you care about that kind of stuff in your home decor. But next I'm actually going to move this because it's kind of in my way. And there we go. So now basically all we have left to do is sandwich this together and sew around all 3 remaining edges. But first we need to do something with this fringe, right? So I'm going to, it doesn't really matter what side you kind of sew this around, but I'm just going to kind of fold this and go around this orange. So I'm going to pin all along like this, coming back down to where we started. So I've got fringe all the way around the outside. So this might actually take me a little bit. Now, it's important if you're using fringe to make sure that as you turn the corner, you don't have any of these fringy pieces sticking out to where you're going to sew. So if you have like a bunch of pins there, more pins is better than not enough pins, if that makes sense. Now, also, when I come over here to this first corner that I'm going to pin that's not been sewn yet, we're going to see that it might be a little counterintuitive how we do this. So you would think that you would want to pin this as tight as it will go around this corner, right? So I would think that I would want to go here and pin it really tight. But what you actually want to do is leave a bit of a wrinkle. So leave it a little bit loose and overlapping each other, because that's going to give you some room to make sure that these fringes don't stick off the side that you're trying to sew. And also, it's going to give you some room to be able to turn it right side out without that being stretched to go around the outside rather than being on the inside like we sew it. And that's kind of a weird thing to think about, but that's just how it works. Now, I used a bunch of pins in that corner, but I'm still going to stop and make sure that none of my fringe is sticking out when I get to that point in my sewing, because I would hate to accidentally sew over some of this fringe and it looks weird when I'm done, because I don't like to use my seam ripper very often. I don't know about you guys. And just to remind you all, I will be doing some Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions about this process or anything, go ahead and let me know. I see that I don't quite have enough fringe here. I thought I did my mathematicals right. So if you are purchasing fringe, you're going to want to make sure that you measure your pillow. So mine was 16 by 12 inches, right? So I did 16 inches plus 16 inches plus 12 plus 12. And then I added like 5 extra inches for wiggle room. But as you can see here, I kind of am going to run out. So I don't know if, the person at the cup counter wasn't counting quite right, or if I didn't quite do my mathematicals right. But it's okay because nobody's really going to notice, except for me. I can put another pillow in front of it anyways, too, if I want. Okay, So now I've got that pinned all the way around, and now I'm just going to sandwich this together like this and line up these top corners and all the edges. And stick a couple pins in this just to kind of hold it together. Don't do too many because you should already have quite a few pins holding your fringes down, and you don't want to be like on pin overload and get poked all the time or anything. Plus, we're not really going to zoom around this one. We're going to take our time, especially if you have fringe. If you don't have fringe, just put as many pins as you want and just go ahead and zoom around the outside. What you will want to do, though, first is make sure that your zipper is unzipped about halfway. So I really should have done that before I flopped this over itself, but that's okay. Now, if we did not unzip the zipper, then we would not be able to anymore, because we're going to end up sewing across the ends here. Okay, I give up. The fringe here is getting in my way from unzipping this, so I'm going to open it up a little so I can actually see what's going on. This is also going to be the hole that we flip it right side out through. So normally, like if you made a normal pillow, you would sew all the way around the edge except for a little spot, and then that's how you would flip it right side out. But then you'd have to hand sew it close and stuff. So we're not really going to do that, but the hole that we're going to leave is in the zipper, so that's going to be easier anyways. Now down here on this unzipped zipper side, you're going to want to make sure that you have lined up these zipper tapes and pinned them in place. Otherwise, it's going to kind of not be lined up and you won't be able to finish zipping it up all the way. If, like, for instance, the top of this is like this much further than the bottom, then the zippers are going to be off and you're going to have a weird hole. But once you have this pinned all the way around, we're just going to start sewing here on the zipper side, go around like so, and stop sewing on the zipper side. So you're only going to do 3 corners, and make sure that you're reverse stitching when you start and end. Now when you get to this corner up here, you can pivot and just reach your little finger in there, just to make sure that none of those fringes got stuck out like I mentioned earlier. All right, now I did reverse stitch a few more times on that open end of the zipper than on the closed end, just because I know that's going to be a lot of wear and tear there as you zip and unzip. Now I'm pretty much done. I'm excited to flip this right side out and see what my fringe looks like. And we're going to start getting into the question time pretty soon. So if you have any questions about this or the sew up box or sewing at all, go ahead and put those in the comments below, and I will be able to answer those in a few minutes. Now, remember on the first pillowcase that we made without the zipper, we went ahead and we trimmed along here on the corners. We're going to do that here as well. On the top two, the ones with the zipper sticking off the end, we can't really trim too much because those zippers are still going to be there anyways. So don't worry about those. Now you're going to reach in, and I like to use my finger to poke out these corners as I poke them out. But you can also use like the end of your scissors if they're not super sharp at the end, or a pen or a pencil or anything like that. And then just go ahead and pull that through the open part of your zipper here. Now, this looks weird, right? Because you've got all this extra zipper, but we're just going to shove that into the pillow and then poke out this other end of the zipper here. And then once this zips up, you'll see that you won't even see those zipper ends anymore because they're going to be hidden in there. Pretty cool, huh? Here's the front and here's the back. I'm not really sure which one I like better, but I'm going to come around here and show you guys a little bit closer what it looks like. So I'm super excited. I'm mostly excited because I love both of these fabrics, and now I'm going to be able to put it both ways. So I'm just going to be able to unzip this, right, and shove my pillow form in there. And this is destined for my front porch. So I'm super excited. I hope that you guys had fun. I see that it's been about 45 minutes. What, already? Of sewing, but we got 2 really cool projects done. If you guys are just now tuning in, you will be able to watch the replay. And remember, we are going to have one of these every Wednesday. So that's exciting. I think next Wednesday, I'm not sure what we're going to do yet. So let me know in the comments what you would like to see in the Sew What Wednesday next Wednesday. But first, we have something else exciting that we're going to cover. So, guess what I have been up to today? I have been in my sewing room getting ready for the monthly shipment that's actually going to go out in November. And I've been cutting fabrics and fabrics. Just to give you guys an idea, check out all of these empty bolts that I have. Okay, you think just 3? Just wait. Watch the table here. Yeah, not even done yet. All of those. I've cut all the fabric off of those, and I still have more to go after we're done with this video. But like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I'm so excited for fall, and I hope you guys are too. And what happens in November that we love as Americans? Thanksgiving! So our November box is going to ship out to our members between the 1st and 4th of November. So that usually gets to you in 1 to 3 days. So that's going to give you a lot of time to get the stuff that we're sending out and use it for Thanksgiving. So I'm super excited. But my little sneak peek today is some of the fabrics that we're going to be putting in that box. So check out how cool this print is. It's kind of like fireworks and leaves all at the same time, and I love it. So I'm going to unfold this so you can see like a bigger piece. How cool is this? I love these colors. And I'm so excited to send it out to you guys in the November shipment. If you aren't a member with our sewing club and you're thinking, what the heck is the November shipment? What are you talking about? Well, we do a monthly sewing club, which is basically like a subscription box where every month you get a box full of sewing goodies, fabrics, tools, projects, stuff like that. And it's so much fun. So if you want to join and you haven't yet, we're actually running a special right now where you can get your first box free. So your first month's shipment will be free. You can actually find that by going to our website at sewupbox.com. There we go. And you can see all the details about getting the free first box and stuff. We also have some overstock past boxes. So if you want to get like a gift box or something for one of your family members, I know it's not too early to start shopping for Christmas. You can go to our website, scroll all the way to the bottom of the page, and then there's going to be a little link that says shop. Click there and you can see all of the one-time purchase boxes where you can choose what's in them and you don't have to sign up for a subscription. So that is the download on that. Let me know if you guys have any questions on it. And let's see, we are almost done except for... Okay, so question number 1. What type of fabrics can be used to make these type of pillows? So, as you know, there's a bajillion type of fabrics. So I'm not going to list out all the yeses and nos. But a good rule of thumb is it's going to be super easy to make a pillowcase like the ones that we just did if you have a non-stretch fabric. You will not be as frustrated if you use a non-stretch fabric than you would if you use a stretchy fabric. And the stretchy fabrics are going to kind of stretch out with the pillow form, and it'll kind of look frumpy after a while. So if you want to use like a home decor fabric or a like a cotton quilting fabric, anything that's woven and not stretchy. I like to walk through the fabric store and just touch things and see if they're stretchy and stuff. What you want to avoid if you want to wash the pillowcase is do not use outdoor fabrics. A lot of people fall into the trap of outdoor fabrics because they think they're more sturdy. Outdoor fabrics are not more sturdy. What an outdoor fabric means that it's treated to be UV resistant. So it can be flimsy. It doesn't have to be thick. But if you end up washing it, it's going to remove the UV coating, and it basically is not worth paying the 3 times per yard for the outdoor fabric. Okay, it looks like I've got another comment here. Okay, Lisa asks, should you always wash cotton fabric before using? This is a great question that I love. If you ask 90% of sewers, they will say yes. However, I typically say no. Here's the long form answer of that. Usually, if you plan to wash the fabric after everything's made, you should wash it before because it might shrink. But if I'm making things that I do not plan on washing, then I'm not going to worry about it. For instance, this pillowcase, I'm not going to wash. If something gets on it, I'm going to use some spray and wash, wipe it off, just like a dry clean, and it'll be fine. So that won't ever shrink. If I'm making a quilt, honestly, quilters probably won't like this, but I do not pre-wash. Because if you don't pre-wash everything that you use, then if you wash it, it'll just kind of shrink the same amount most of the times. And who really washes quilts anyways? But if you are making like a skirt for yourself or something like that where the sizing matters a lot, then you're going to want to pre-wash before you make that outfit. But honestly, for me, you know, when you pre-wash fabric, it gets like the little strings that unravel everywhere. And it's such a big hassle that if I'm not making clothing, I won't even pre-wash. And I think that that goes with everything. You know, they say cotton shrinks the most, but the other thing that you need to think about is with polyester and stuff that you buy in the store, that dye is set, but as you wash it, it could come out. So, like if you want to be able to wash a polyester or something with other colors, you might want to wash it first by itself just to make sure that the color doesn't bleed out. So I hope that that answers your question, Lisa. I would just say that it's not such a hard and fast rule that everybody says, you know, oh my gosh, wash your cotton fabric first. We don't like to stress out about that kind of stuff here. But if you are making clothes, definitely wash them first, because you don't want to deal with something that you sized perfect, you wash it, and now you got to lose 5 pounds to wear it. Okay, so next one, how do you know what kind of fringe is a good one to use? So that's a good question. You, like for instance, for mine here, see I have a pretty long fringe. I wanted something that would be easy to sew in. If you get a shorter fringe, you have to be way more of a stickler on how far in on the fringe you sew. Since this one was really long, I kind of just pinned it and could sew and didn't have to worry about it. But if you end up with a like a shorter one, you're going to have to pay way more attention. And for me, it's just a little bit more than I want to have to deal with, because it looked really cool and I had fun making it. So why try to worry with short fringe? But the other thing to know is if you do want to wash this, make sure that you pick something that is going to be washable. So you can see the content, the fiber content on fringe just as easy as you can on fabrics. So you'd probably want something that is like a cotton or something, but also make sure that it's not just like something that will unravel really easy if you're wanting to wash it. So some of those fringes do look like they could unravel pretty easy. And so that's just a good idea to kind of look at that kind of stuff. Looks like I have one more comment here. Awesome, Lisa. I'm glad that makes sense. And I hope that that has helped some other people out there with the pre-washing thing. We like to sew here with no stress and all fun. So sometimes that just means knowing the rules to be able to break them. Okay, so that looks like all the questions that I have for today. If you guys are watching the replay or anything and have any questions you want to ask, you can actually, let me see if I can post a comment here. Okay, so if you guys want to ask questions not during the live video, feel free to, there we go. It's really hard to point at things on the screen. But you can send an email right to me at taylor@sewwhatbox.com, and I'd love to help you with any problems that you're having. Maybe your sewing machine is acting weird. Actually, a lot of times that's the easy fix. So if your sewing machine's acting weird, maybe you don't know what kind of sewing machine you need to get started, or you have any questions about anything like that, you can always, there we go, email me there, and I'd love to help. Or you can also, message the page on Facebook or YouTube, or leave a comment here, and I will see about those as well. And I love to answer questions, so feel free to ask those. But I think that we're going to call this the end of the broadcast. It looks like it's been about an hour, so that's fun, and I'm excited to see you guys next week.